They thought you would forgive them. Just like that, after what they did, after the pain they caused, the lies they told, the trust they shattered, they thought you would smile, move on, and let them back into the sacred space of your heart. But let me tell you something. Forgiveness is powerful, but it is not foolish. You're not here to be anyone's emotional punching bag. You're not here to clean up the mess of people who had every chance to do right by you and chose wrong anyway. See, people think love means tolerance. They confuse kindness with weakness. But what they didn't realize is the moment they crossed that line, they awakened a fire in you they never saw coming. A version of you that's done apologizing for being too nice, too forgiving, too patient. That part of you is done begging for closure, done replaying the past, done asking, why me? No more. This is your turning point. This is where your story changes. You don't need revenge. Your success will be the loudest response. Your peace, your growth, your self-respect will speak volumes. Because when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time, and then rise. Don't look back. Don't give energy to what tried to break you. Redirect that pain. Use it. Build something so powerful, so unstoppable that they can't ignore what they lost. You don't owe anyone forgiveness who hasn't earned it. You owe yourself freedom. You owe yourself healing. And that healing doesn't always mean reconciliation. It means finally understanding that your future is too big for people who think so small. So let them go. Let them live with their choices. You've got a mission, a calling, a life that demands your full strength. Now go live it like the warrior you were born to be. They think forgiveness means access. They think just because you have a good heart, you'll open the door again and let them back into your life like nothing ever happened. But let's get one thing straight. Forgiveness is not foolishness. Forgiveness is for you, not for them. It's the release of poison from your soul, not a ticket for someone to walk back in and damage you all over again. People will cross your boundaries, betray your trust, and then expect you to move on because they don't want to deal with the weight of their actions. They want your peace without earning it. But here's the truth. Just because you forgive someone doesn't mean you pretend it never happened. You can let go of the anger and still never allow them back into your life. You can wish them well and still block every avenue they once used to hurt you. Forgiveness is not about being blind. It's about being awake, aware, strong. It means you are wise enough to see the pattern, to break the cycle, and to rise above it. It's saying, I've healed from the wound, but I won't hand you the weapon again. That's not bitterness. That's growth. That's power. That's ownership of your life. You were not put on this earth to constantly be the one who absorbs the damage. You were put here to lead, to build, to evolve, and sometimes the most powerful form of love is to let go. Not with hate, not with rage, but with clarity, with purpose, with strength that says, you don't get to hurt me twice. They saw your kindness and thought it was weakness. They saw your patience and mistook it for permission. But what they didn't understand is this: your heart, your compassion, your willingness to forgive, those aren't signs of weakness. Those are the marks of someone who has mastered themselves. It takes real strength to stay calm when someone tries to provoke you. It takes power to hold your integrity when others lose theirs. People who haven't done the inner work will always project their brokenness onto your character. They'll test your limits, and when you don't lash out, they'll assume you're soft. But you're not soft. You're focused. You're disciplined. You're dangerous in the best way because your power doesn't scream. It whispers with certainty. Kindness is a choice. You choose to stay compassionate even when people don't deserve it. You choose to give even when it's not returned. But let's make this clear. Your kindness has boundaries. It has structure. It has standards. And just because you gave people a seat at your table once doesn't mean they're entitled to stay. You are not here to keep proving your goodness to those who abuse it. You don't need to explain your silence, your distance, or your decisions. When someone mistakes your grace for weakness, they reveal more about themselves than they ever will about you. Let them underestimate you. Let them misjudge you. Because the greatest power you have is knowing who you are and no longer needing their validation. They thought you were weak because you didn't fight back. But the truth is, you were just choosing where to put your energy. And now, you're done explaining. You're done shrinking. You're done tolerating. Because kindness without limits becomes self-destruction. And you're not here to break, you're here to rise. They thought because you didn't raise your voice, you didn't have one, because you didn't retaliate, you didn't have the strength, because you didn't strike back, you didn't know how to fight. But let me tell you something, the strongest people in the world aren't the loudest. They're not the ones throwing punches or shouting to be heard. They're the ones who can look chaos in the eye and choose not to let it consume them. You see, kindness isn't weakness, it's control, it's restraint. It's the ability to stand in the fire and still keep your soul cool. It's knowing you could destroy someone with the truth, with the facts, with your voice, and still choosing peace. That's not weakness, that's mastery. But don't confuse kindness with tolerance for disrespect. You can be kind and still walk away. You can be kind and still cut someone off. You can be kind and still protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Every time you allow someone to cross the line and make excuses for it in the name of being nice, you're betraying yourself. And that ends now. You were not created to be walked on, used, or manipulated. You were created to live with intention, with strength, with a heart that gives, but also a soul that knows when to stop. The most dangerous people in the world are the ones who don't need to prove it. They don't need to fight to show they're strong. Their silence is loud enough. Their absence is powerful enough. So when they thought your kindness made you easy to fool, they didn't realize that your silence was your strategy, that your patience was your preparation, that while they were playing games, you were building distance, peace, and clarity. And now they don't get the same version of you they once had. You're no longer available for people who think love is weakness. You're no longer handing out chances to people who don't value them, because your kindness is a gift, and you finally remembered that not everyone deserves it. The moment you stopped trying to prove your heart, you started protecting it, and that is where your real power began. Betrayal doesn't just hurt, it awakens. It shocks your system. It pulls the rug from under your trust. And in that split second where your heart shatters, something else stirs deep within you. Something ancient, something powerful, something unstoppable. A part of you they didn't know existed. A part of you they created by trying to break you. They thought the betrayal would destroy you, but what they really did was wake up a version of you that had been sleeping. You see, pain has a strange way of becoming the birthplace of power. When someone you loved or trusted chooses to lie, abandon, or deceive, yes, it stings. Yes, it breaks something. But after the hurt, after the confusion, after the tears, comes the clarity. You realize that their actions had nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with their character. And that's when the shift happens. That's when the fire inside of you ignites. That betrayal, it was the trigger, the catalyst. Because the truth is, most people won't change until life forces them to, until they get pushed so far they have no choice but to rise or be buried. And if you're reading this, you didn't stay buried. You chose to get up. You chose to channel the pain into purpose. You chose to transform. You became sharper, stronger, more self-aware, more intentional, more focused on your boundaries, your energy, your mission. You stopped chasing people. You stopped begging for honesty, for love, for the bare minimum. You started remembering who the hell you are. Not because someone reminded you, but because someone betrayed you. They thought they broke you, but they built you. Not in the way they intended, but in the way life needed. Because some lessons don't come through peace. They come through the fire, and now that you've been through the fire, you are the fire. You don't owe anyone an explanation for how you had to rebuild yourself. You don't have to prove your comeback to the people who tried to write your ending. Let them watch. Let them wonder how you're still standing, how you're still breathing, still building, still glowing. Because the most beautiful version of you didn't come from ease. It was born in the aftermath of the storm they thought would finish you. And now you rise, not bitter, not broken, but reborn. You don't need closure to heal. Let that sink in. You don't need an apology. You don't need them to admit what they did. You don't need a long text, a heartfelt message, or some grand explanation to move forward. That's the lie we're conditioned to believe, that someone else's accountability is the key to your freedom. But your healing, your peace, that's your job, not theirs. See, closure is a beautiful concept, but in reality, it's often just a craving for validation. We want to hear them say, yes, I hurt you. So it makes our pain feel real. We want them to feel what we felt. We want them to see what they broke. But here's the truth. Some people will never give you closure because giving it would mean accepting responsibility. And that's something they're not ready to face. And maybe they never will. But you can't wait forever. You can't live your life holding your breath, stuck in the space between what happened and what never got said, because while you're replaying the moment, they've already moved on. And every second you spend needing their words is another second you're handing them power over your peace. You don't need closure from them. You need truth with yourself. You need to look at the situation and say, yes, it hurt. Yes, it changed me. But no, it doesn't define me. That's closure. That's ownership. That's where your healing begins. Not when they tell you why, but when you decide it's over. You get to close the chapter. You get to write the ending. You get to stand in the mirror and say, they didn't give me peace, so I built it myself. That's strength. That's leadership. That's what warriors do. They don't wait for justice to feel whole. They rise without it. Let them carry their guilt. Let them drown in their silence. You've got things to do, dreams to chase, a life to live. And your healing, it doesn't need their permission. It needs your decision. So stop knocking on a closed door, turn around, and walk toward everything that's been waiting for you on the other side of that pain, because you are done waiting for closure that was never coming. Pain is not your enemy. It's your fuel. It's the fire that either burns you down or burns down everything that was holding you back. You get to choose. They thought when they hurt you, you'd break. They thought you'd stay down, stay small, stay silent. But what they didn't realize is that the pain they caused didn't destroy you. It awakened you. It became the very energy you needed to step into your next level. Look back at every moment that crushed you, every betrayal, every disappointment, every rejection, and ask yourself, who did you become because of it? You became wiser. You became more focused. You started setting boundaries. You stopped explaining your worth to people who couldn't see it. That pain shaped you, not because it defined you, but because you refused to waste it. You didn't just survive it, you used it. You turned it into drive. You took every sleepless night, every tear, every unanswered question, and transformed it into fire, into motivation, into clarity. And let me tell you something. People can try to take things from you, but they can never take your ability to turn pain into power. You see, most people want the growth without the pressure, the strength without the struggle, the breakthrough without the breakdown. But that's not how transformation works. You grow when it hurts. You evolve when you're tested. You find out who you are when there's nowhere to run but inward. So no, you don't need to erase the pain. You need to honor it, use it, let it push you to train harder, speak louder, love deeper, walk taller. Let it push you to show up for yourself in a way you never have before. Because the most powerful people you'll ever meet aren't the ones who avoided pain, they're the ones who transformed through it. Don't hide from the hurt. Don't numb it. Don't run from it. Channel it. That pain, it's a signal, a gift. It's telling you you were made for more, so take it, own it, and let it launch you into a version of yourself so powerful, so grounded, so unshakable that even your pain has to stand in awe of who you've become. You don't need to scream, argue, or fight back to prove anything. Your success is the loudest response you will ever give. They thought they broke you. They thought their betrayal would leave you bitter, stuck, lost. But what they didn't count on was that you were built different. You were designed to rise, to rebuild, to transform your pain into progress and your silence into strength. You see, the most powerful revenge is not payback, it's leveling up. It's waking up every day with fire in your belly and purpose in your soul. It's choosing to keep building when they expected you to fall apart. It's pushing through the pain, the doubt, the weight of what they did, and still showing up like the warrior you are. That's power, that's influence, that's how you win. Let them watch. Let them wonder how you're still standing. Let them hear about the business you launched, the life you created, the joy you cultivated without them. Let them feel the silence of your absence and the noise of your progress. Because when you stop trying to prove your worth to people who never saw it, you start pouring that energy into becoming everything they said you'd never be. Your healing, your glow, your elevation. That's your answer. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to drag anyone through the mud. You don't need to waste one more breath telling your side of the story. The version of you that's winning, thriving, living free, that is the story now. Success is not just about achievement. It's about alignment. It's about rising into the life you were meant to live, not to get even with them, but to honor you, your journey, your resilience, your vision. And when you start walking in that purpose, they won't even recognize you because the person they tried to break no longer exists. Let them gossip, let them guess, let them regret, because every step you take toward your highest self is a reminder that they lost access to something rare. You didn't just survive what they did, you transcended it, and now you don't need to say a word. Your success speaks for you. Your peace is priceless. It's not up for negotiation. It's not something you trade for temporary attention, shallow apologies, or empty promises. They thought they could come back after causing chaos like nothing ever happened. But once you taste peace, once you build that calm within yourself, you protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. People who bring drama, confusion, and emotional exhaustion are not entitled to your space, no matter how close they once were. You've outgrown the need to fix people who refuse to fix themselves. You've learned that peace isn't just a feeling, it's a standard, a non-negotiable. It's the foundation of the life you're building. There was a time when you tolerated the noise, when you explained yourself too much, forgave too easily, and gave chances to people who saw your heart as a weakness, but not anymore. Now you understand that nothing and no one is worth disturbing your peace. You've learned to walk away without guilt, to choose solitude over forced connection, to say no with full authority and zero explanation. Peace is not passive, it's powerful. It's earned through deep healing, through choosing growth over comfort, through saying, I deserve better, and actually living like you mean it. The people who can't handle your peace are the ones who thrived on your chaos. They don't miss you. They miss the version of you who tolerated their dysfunction. So now you protect your peace the way a warrior guards their territory. You don't just let anyone walk in and shift your energy. You don't explain your distance. You enforce your boundaries. And if someone's presence costs you your clarity, your joy, your stability, they're too expensive. Let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed. They're right, you have. You've changed into someone who values inner calm over outer approval. And that version of you, that version is dangerous because you're no longer controlled by guilt, manipulation, or noise. You are driven by vision, peace, and power, and that is unshakable. Healing is not weakness. Healing is not forgetting. Healing is not pretending it didn't happen. Healing is self-respect in its highest form. Because when you decide to heal, really heal, you're saying, I will no longer bleed for people who cut me and call it love. You're drawing a line. You're reclaiming your worth. You're taking back your power, not by demanding apologies, but by deciding, I'm done suffering for someone else's choices. They thought healing meant reconciliation, that if you truly forgave them, you'd welcome them back. But what they didn't understand is that healing is not about them. It's about you. It's about choosing peace over closure, growth over comfort, and boundaries over dysfunction. It's about standing in front of the mirror and saying, I matter too much to keep allowing this. Because the most dangerous wound isn't the one others cause. It's the one you keep reopening by staying where your spirit is shrinking. Healing is radical self-respect. It's choosing silence over chaos. It's walking away without shouting, without proving a point, without waiting for someone to understand why you're done. It's learning to love yourself so fiercely that you refuse to stay in places that hurt. That's not selfish. That's sacred. That's necessary. That's what freedom looks like. There was a time you tolerated the pain because you didn't know your worth. There was a time you kept giving chances because you believed they'd change. But now you've evolved. Now you know that healing sometimes means cutting the cord. Not because you hate them, but because you finally love you. You see, real healing isn't soft. It's fierce. It's decisive. It's bold. It means getting honest about what broke you and courageous enough to say, I will never go back there again. You don't need to prove that you've healed. Your peace will show it. Your glow will reflect it. Your silence will speak louder than anything you could say. So, let them wonder why you walked away. Let them spin their stories. You don't owe them your healing. You don't owe them access. You owe yourself the life you were meant to live. And healing is the path that gets you there. Letting go doesn't mean you lost. It means you chose to win somewhere else. You chose your future over your past. You chose growth over grudges. Because holding on to what hurt you doesn't protect you. It poisons you. And the longer you carry that pain, that betrayal, that disappointment, the more it weighs you down and keeps you from everything that's waiting for you. They thought you'd hold on forever, that you'd stay stuck in the memory of what happened. But what they didn't expect was your awakening. That moment when you looked at the pain, looked at your reflection and said, enough, I'm not living here anymore. Because here's the truth. When you finally let go of what broke you, you make space for what builds you, for what heals you, for what elevates you. You can't receive what's meant for you if your hands are still full of what's not. You can't build your future with bricks made from your past. And you certainly can't rise while clinging to the things that were designed to keep you small. Letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's strength. It's maturity. It means you've stopped negotiating with what already showed you it doesn't deserve a seat at your table. You let go because your vision got clearer, because your energy got sacred, because you realized some people, some places, and some patterns were only meant to be lessons, not lifelong attachments. And when you stop forcing things to stay, you give yourself permission to expand, to grow, to walk into rooms you were too distracted to even notice before. Letting go is not the end. It's the beginning. It's the doorway to everything you were too weighed down to reach. And the beauty is, when you finally drop what hurt you, you don't just feel lighter, you become unstoppable. They may never say sorry. They may never change. They may never understand what they lost. But you move forward anyway. Not because they deserve peace, but because you do. You don't rise by holding on, you rise by releasing. And every time you let go of what was never meant to stay, you get one step closer to the life that's been waiting for you all along. You have a mission, a purpose that's bigger than your pain, louder than their betrayal, and more powerful than anything they did to try and break you. They thought their actions would define you, but what they didn't realize is that you were never meant to stay in that chapter. You were meant to rise beyond it. You were born with something inside you that this world needs, and no setback, no betrayal, no disappointment can cancel that calling.